Case File 01M, Westford County, Ohio. 2:47 in the morning. A long-haul truck driver takes a GPS shortcut down a road that hasn't had power lines in 20 years. Halfway down, one house has its porch light on. He went inside. The coffee was still warm. Someone had been there seconds before. Then the light went out. There were roads in Ohio that the state forgot to bury. Not abandoned, not closed, simply erased. Roads that existed on decommissioned survey maps that still held the ghost of painted center lines beneath decades of cracked asphalt, that wound between county lines where no one filed complaints and no state troopers ran their routes. Roads that GPS systems registered as valid corridors, routing unwary long-haul drivers off the interstate and into something the infrastructure had quietly stopped pretending was real. Millhaven Road, Westford County, was one of those roads. Elias Crane had been hauling freight for 19 years. He knew the interstate the way other men knew their own backyards. Every way station, every diesel stop, every stretch of I-71 where the shoulder of the road turned soft and swallowed tires in the dark. He was not a superstitious man. He was a thermos of lukewarm coffee man, a deadlines and logbooks man. The GPS offered Millhaven Road as a shortcut past the county line. 14 minutes saved. Elias took it. The road was wrong from the first quarter mile. There were no power lines. That was the first thing. In rural Ohio, power lines followed roads the way shadows followed men. Constant, unthinking. Their absence felt like a held breath. The houses came next. They lined Millhaven Road like a procession that had stopped moving decades ago. Empty houses, every one. Their windows had gone the opaque gray of cataracts. Their porch boards had collapsed into the foundations. The scent that came through Elias's cracked window was the scent of dried corn husks and rust, of wood rot and something sweeter underneath. The particular sweetness of spaces sealed too long. He counted 7 houses in the first half mile. All of them were dark. The 8th house had a light on. Not a flashlight. Not a security lamp triggered by motion. A porch light. Warm, incandescent, the specific amber of a bulb that had been burning for hours. The kind of light that meant someone was home, that someone was expected home. It was the most ordinary thing Elias Crane had seen in years. It was also the most wrong. There were no power lines on Millhaven Road. Elias slowed the truck. He leaned forward against the steering wheel, squinting into the amber glow. His jaw tightened. The engine died at the shoulder of the road, directly across from 412 Millhaven. He tried the CB radio. The static that answered him was not the ordinary static of a weak signal. It was the static of something listening. The silence of flat Midwestern dark was something Elias understood. He had pulled over on enough empty stretches to know the sound of wind moving through dead fields, the distant rumble of a far-off interstate, the tick of a cooling engine. This silence had none of that. This silence was complete. It had weight. It pressed against his eardrums like he'd descended underwater. He crossed the road. The porch paint should have been peeling. It wasn't. A welcome mat sat squarely at the threshold, as though someone had straightened it that morning. The front door stood slightly ajar, heavy wood holding its shape without warp or rot, and from the gap, a breath of warm air curled outward into the cold night. Elias pressed his palm against the door. It swung open, not with a creak, not with the groan of a house long abandoned, but with a heavy, settled thud. The sound of good hinges, the sound of a home that was kept. The door opened like a house that was used. The kitchen was alive. Steam rose from the pot on the stove. The coffee on the counter was fresh. He could smell it from the doorway, strong and dark. The table was set for dinner. 4 plates, 4 glasses of water, the ice not yet melted. The radio played something from another era, a ballad with strings and a voice so calm it felt like a trick. Elias stood in the doorway and did not move for a long moment. He was a pragmatic man. He reached for explanations. Generator, squatters, someone still living here somehow, off-grid and unreachable. He stepped further inside. He saw the figure through the kitchen window. It stood at the back edge of the yard, where the tall grass ended and the open field began. It was facing away from the house, toward the black, flat nothing of the Ohio plains. It did not move. Not the small, unconscious movements of a living body. No shift of weight, no turn of the head. It simply stood, the way a post stands, the way a scarecrow stands when the wind has forgotten to blow. He called out. The word left his mouth and went nowhere. The field swallowed it without an echo. He walked toward the figure. 10 steps, 15. His boots crushed the dry grass with a sound that was very loud in the silence. When he was close enough to reach out and touch a shoulder, the figure was gone. There was no movement, no retreat into the field, no sound of running. It had not left. It had simply ceased to be present. The kitchen had died. The coffee was gone, not moved, not spilled, gone. The pot on the stove held nothing but a dark ring of dried sediment. The glasses on the table were filmed with dust. The radio's dial had gone dark. The warmth that had met him at the door had been replaced by the cold of a house that had not been heated in a very long time. The porch light died. Elias ran. He found a deputy at a truck stop diner 12 miles north, just past the county line. He described what he'd seen. The deputy did not reach for his radio. He did not look skeptical. He looked tired.
412 Millhaven. Miller Place. Been empty since 2001. Family of 4. Father, mother, 2 kids. Dinner time, near as the investigators could figure. Food still on the stove. Table set. Coffee, fresh. Nobody ever came back. Nobody ever found them anywhere else, either.
Elias asked what the deputy thought had happened. The deputy picked up his mug.
I stopped thinking about it the way you're thinking about it. You didn't see where they went. You saw the moment before they went. You stepped into the last few seconds that house was ever alive.
Elias drove north. He did not take shortcuts after that. But there are nights, the long ones, hauling freight through the flat dark of the Midwest, when the CB radio goes quiet and the clock reads 2:47 and the GPS offers a road he doesn't recognize, that he still smells it. Fresh coffee, and a ballad on a radio that has no reason to be playing. Some sounds don't need a source. Some echoes don't need a wall to bounce off of. They just find you. At 3 a.m., when the road is very long and the dark is very wide, and you are, for a moment, completely alone.